আমরা বিকাশ দার থেকে সবসময় অনেক কিছু শিখতে পারি, এখনো শিখলাম। আমি এরপরে প্রফেসর সংঘমিত্রা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায়কে বলবো তার বক্তব্য বলার জন্য। আর সকলকে আমি অনুরোধ করবো, তারা যদি আগের বক্তা যা বলেছেন তার সূত্র ধরে তার সঙ্গে সম্পর্ক রেখে কিছু বলেন, তাহলে তারা বলতেই পারেন, তাহলে আলোচনাটা খুব প্রাণবন্ত হয়, একটা নদীর মতো এগোতে পারে। ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you. First of all, I should thank Professor Shoma Praichaudhuri for inviting me to this panel discussion, and when he sent his mail, I asked him why me. I don't think I should be sitting here on the stage with this distinguished set of panelists here, all of whom are not only very distinguished but also very senior. Probably my claim to fame is that I am the post-1980 phase, and maybe because I moved on from physics. Being in the academics, still I'm in the academics, I'm in the English Statistical Institute, but from BSc in physics I moved on to computer science, which of course I enjoyed thoroughly. I am whatever I am today because of computer science, but then my training in physics, I found, was played a major role in my understanding of computer science. So I thank my teachers, 85 to 88 batch. I was fortunate enough to have been taught by Professor MONDAY3, Professor Shyamul Sengupta, and many other very distinguished teachers. Also, maybe I'm here because one of the reasons might be that I have been a member of an education commission which was set up by the government of West Bengal in November 2013. The objective of this commission was to create a roadmap of education in West Bengal for 2020-2030, and it encompassed the entire range, from primary education to higher education to university to madrasa, whatnot. And during this course of this past 1 year, I have had the privilege of talking to a lot of people in the education sector across the spectrum, including people from the universities, of meeting many vice chancellors and directors of different institutes. What we have seen firsthand is, of course, a large number of problems plague our system, but probably the major problem is that of mindset. We've talked to a lot of people, and it is indeed very difficult to change the mindsets of people. As Professor Bikash Sinha just now mentioned, that there's a world outside Kolkata, and that a lot of science, and in fact very great science, is going on all around the world, and of course also in India. But somehow, if we look at the 1850s to late 1800s to 1950s, 1960s, we can name so many names. We are very proud of that heritage, and in fact Presidency College, now Presidency University, has been a cradle of this, to a large extent, of this mass of talent which came out during that period. What happened then is something that we have got to look into, and the role that the universities have to play is, there's no doubt that if this country has to progress, if this state has to progress, the university system has to be extremely strengthened in order to nurture the talent which comes out of the schools, the colleges. That's like the ore, and then this university system has to polish and add glitter to that ore so that it adds a lot of value to the human resource which is there. And of course, as Professor Sinha also mentioned, that there are so many colleges teaching the same course. Why can't we combine all of them together? And that's where information and communication technology has to play a major role. That has been one of our recommendations also of the Commission, which submitted its report a few days back, that all the schools, colleges, universities, every educational institution has to be connected. everyone should have an access to a computer, to the internet. Because once that connection gets established, then wonders can happen. We might not be able to, at this point of time, appreciate what can happen if people get connected, if everybody has access to that information which is out there. But it can create wonders, and we hope that if some of these recommendations are put into practice, then in 2020, 2030, we will not be just looking back at our heritage, at the legacy, but we have something to look forward to. Keeping the students busy, of course, is extremely important, but also nurturing the students, creating that right environment, that is where the university has to play a major role. And I was very happy today when I was coming from my institute with another student of Presidency University Physics, MSc. I was very happy to note that Presidency now is showing the way. I am sure it's going to go to great heights under the able leadership in this university and show the way to Bengal. Because I think now there's no compartmentalization as such. I mean, anybody taking an honors in physics is allowed to take as other subjects at the pass course level. When we were there, it was either physics honors and then mathematics, chemistry, or mathematics, statistics, or something. So it was very streamlined. But now a graduate of physics can have history, can have many other different subjects at the pass course level. Credit transfer is another thing which I don't know whether Presidency has been able to look into it, but it's of extreme importance that the university does that. The university system has to show the way, and then the others will follow. The university system also, of course, has to be inclusive so that people with talent are not barred from coming here. At the same time, there should be checks that people just don't walk into the university just because they have nothing better to do. So, because that way, it puts a lot of pressure on the system to carry along people who are not really interested in what the system has to offer, but they are there just because there's nothing else to do. So, I think we have a lot of problems, there's no doubt about it. West Bengal, which at one point of time led the country, is now at quite a low level at the moment in the country. The education, if we just look at the rankings of the different states, we are not somewhere where we can be proud of. But then, Presidency University is showing the way, and I think things will change. They have to change, because one thing is everything moves in a cycle. How worse can we go? How low can we go? We have to come up from there at one point of time. So I would like to say that there's hope, and I really believe that in the years to come, we will see a revival. We have, of course, always been very strong in culture, in science, in education. But now, unfortunately, we are exporters of this talent. We supply to not only different parts of the country, but to different parts of the world, very, very highly talented people, but we are unable to retain them in the state, unable to generate revenue. What the university system, everywhere the university system plays this role of creating innovators, inventors. We have to, in Bengal, there have been great innovators and great inventions coming out of Bengal, and we have to go back to that. Not go back, but go ahead and get those people, those talents, which of course are there everywhere, and in particular the state. So with that, I would like to end, and I think there are a lot of other discussions, other topics which will be raised. But I just want to end on this note of hope that Presidency University, standing here, I'm very proud to see that Presidency is already showing the way, and others will follow suit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shankamitra. It's good to know that a young scientist like you, who works in some other institute, sees a great future of this age-old institute. এই অনুষ্ঠানটা যখন ঠিক করা হয়েছিল, যারা ঠিক করেছিলেন, এই পরিকল্পনা করেছিলেন, তখন তারা এটাই ভেবেছিলেন যে শুধু পদার্থবিদ্যার সঙ্গে এখনো পর্যন্ত যুক্ত রয়েছেন এমন মানুষজনই নন, শুধু শিক্ষা মহলের লোকজনই নন, একাডেমিশিয়ানরাই শুধু নন, অন্যদেরই আলোচনায় রাখা হবে। বস্তুত 8 জন যারা প্যানেলিস্ট রয়েছেন, উপাচার্য ছাড়া এই ফিজিক্স ডিপার্টমেন্টের যারা প্রাক্তনী, তাদের মধ্যে 4 জন এখনো বিজ্ঞান চর্চার সঙ্গে যুক্ত আছেন, অধ্যাপনা করছেন, শিক্ষকতা করছেন। 2 জন হচ্ছেন সিভিল সার্ভেন্ট, 1 জন ব্যাংকার, 1 জন লয়ার, আর সূত্রধার আমাকে ধরলে 1 জন সাংবাদিকও বটে। আমি এবারে পার্থ সেনগুপ্ত আইনজীবী, তাকে অনুরোধ করব বলার জন্য। আর আরেকবারও সবাইকে বলে দেবো, ইংরাজি বা বাংলা যাতেই খুশি আপনারা বলতে পারেন। মোটামুটি 7 থেকে 8 মিনিটের মধ্যে যদি প্রত্যেকে বলেন, তাহলে সকলের কথা শোনার পরেও আরও বিশিষ্টজনেরা যারা নিচে রয়েছেন তারা 2-4টে কথা বলার বা প্রশ্ন করার সুযোগ পাবেন। পার্থ সেনগুপ্ত, প্লিজ।
মঞ্চের উপরে এবং নিচে উপবিষ্ট সম্মানীয় প্রাক্তনীরা, আজকে আলোচনার বিষয়বস্তুটাকে একটু বিশ্লেষণ করার প্রয়োজন বোধ করছি। রোল অফ এ ইউনিভার্সিটি ইন কারেন্ট ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল। যদি শুধু রোল অফ এ ইউনিভার্সিটি হতো, তাহলে বোধহয় বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কিরকম হওয়া উচিত, কি ভূমিকা পালন করা উচিত, এই নিয়ে শিক্ষা জগতের যারা এর আগে বললেন খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ একটা জায়গা তৈরি হয়। কিন্তু রোল অফ এ ইউনিভার্সিটি কারেন্ট ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল যখন বলা হলো, তখন ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলের উপর একটা জোর আছে, কারেন্টের উপর একটা জোর আছে। আমি এই পটভূমিকায়, কারেন্ট ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলের পটভূমিকায় বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কি ভূমিকা হওয়া উচিত, সেই জায়গাটুকুতে নিয়ে যেতে চাইছি। বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কি ভূমিকা হওয়া উচিত, এটা বিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা নয়, মহাবিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা নয়, বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা। বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় হচ্ছে ছাত্র জীবনের শেষ ধাপ, যে ধাপটি পেরিয়ে একটি যুবক বা যুবতী সে পরবর্তী জীবনে, বৃহত্তর জীবনে, কর্মজীবনে প্রবেশ করবে। আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গে দাঁড়িয়ে যেটা সবচেয়ে আগে বলা দরকার, সেটা হচ্ছে এটা একটা এমন পরিস্থিতি যেখানে শিক্ষা জগতে একটা আলোড়ন চলছে। ধরুন উদাহরণস্বরূপ বলি, কোন একটি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় ছাত্ররা বলছেন আমরা প্রশংসাপত্র নিতে যাব না। কোন জায়গায় ছাত্ররা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের উপাচার্যকে ঘেরাও করে রাখছে, কোন জায়গায় রেজিস্ট্রার এবং উপাচার্যের দ্বন্দ্বে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কাজ শিখে উঠে যাচ্ছে। এটা হচ্ছে কারেন্ট ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল। এই কারেন্ট ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কি ভূমিকা হওয়া উচিত? আমার প্রথম বক্তব্য যে আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গে প্রত্যেকটি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় ছাত্রদের যেমন তাদের বিষয় সম্বন্ধে শিক্ষা দেওয়া উচিত, তার পাশাপাশি পশ্চিমবঙ্গের যে ঐতিহ্য দশকের পর দশক ধরে ছিল, যেটা আজকে প্রশ্নচিহ্নের মুখে এসে দাঁড়িয়েছে, সেখান থেকে মুক্তি দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করা উচিত। অর্থাৎ ব্যক্তিত্বের বিকাশ, সর্বাঙ্গীন এবং পূর্ণ বিকাশ, তার চিন্তার প্রকাশের সুযোগ, এবং সেটা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের সংস্কৃতির সঙ্গে কোথাও বিরোধ না থাকে, পশ্চিমবঙ্গের সংস্কৃতির সঙ্গে কোনো বিরোধ না থাকে। আজকের সংস্কৃতি নয়, পশ্চিমবঙ্গের চিরন্তন সংস্কৃতির যে কথা আমরা বলি, এবং তার সঙ্গে তার বিষয়ের শিক্ষা, যেটা সমস্ত বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা। ফলে আমার প্রথম যেটা মনে হয় সেটা হচ্ছে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের প্রথম ভূমিকা হচ্ছে এমন একটি পরিবেশ সৃষ্টি করা যেখানে প্রতিটি ছাত্র সেই প্রতিষ্ঠানের সঙ্গে যুক্ত আছে, সেই বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের সঙ্গে যুক্ত আছে বলে গর্ববোধ করতে পারে। অর্থাৎ এই বোধটা থাকবে, আই বিলং টু দিস ইনস্টিটিউশন। 1969 সালে প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজ ছেড়ে গিয়েছি, আজও যে ফিরে এসেছি তার একটিমাত্র কারণ, আই বিলং টু দিস ইনস্টিটিউশন। এই বোধটা সঞ্চার করা দরকার, নিজের বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়কে ভালোবাসতে শেখানোর দরকার। অর্থাৎ ছাত্র শিক্ষক সম্পর্কটা এমন জায়গায় নিয়ে যাওয়া দরকার আজকে পশ্চিমবঙ্গে, যেখানে ভালোবাসার সঙ্গে মত প্রকাশের কোথাও বিরোধ থাকবে না। অর্থাৎ ছাত্ররা মঞ্চ পাবে, তাদের বিভিন্ন রকমের মতামত থাকতে পারে, সেই মতামত প্রকাশের মঞ্চ করে দিলে গণতান্ত্রিক পদ্ধতিতে তারা সেই মতামত প্রকাশ করতে পারে। তা নইলে এটা প্রকাশ পাবে আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গে যেমন ভাবে প্রকাশ পাচ্ছে, অর্থাৎ ঘেরাও, মাঝরাতে পুলিশ, এই জাতীয় ঘটনার মধ্যে। দ্বিতীয় কথা কি, বর্তমান পশ্চিমবঙ্গে একটা সংকট শিক্ষা জগতের সর্বাঙ্গীন। সেটা হচ্ছে, খবরের কাগজ খুললেই দেখবেন সরকার বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের উপর একটা নিয়ন্ত্রণ রাখার চেষ্টা করছে। এই নিয়ন্ত্রণ রাখার সরকারি চেষ্টা, এটা এমন একটা ধারণার সৃষ্টি করে দিচ্ছে যে যেন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলো সরকারের নিয়ন্ত্রণাধীন। এই ধারণাটা হলে যে মন্তব্যগুলো উড়ে উড়ে আসে, সে মন্তব্যগুলো কিন্তু ছাত্রদের কাছেও খুব সম্মানের হয় না, শিক্ষকদের কাছেও খুব সম্মানের হয় না। উনি তো অমুক দলের দলদাস, একজন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের উপাচার্যের সম্বন্ধে বলা হলো। এই যে বলা হলো, এই বলাটা আপনি আটকাতে পারবেন না, কারণ আজকের বিষয়বস্তু হচ্ছে রোল অফ এ ইউনিভার্সিটি, নট রোল অফ এ গভর্নমেন্ট। সরকারের ভূমিকা যাই হোক না কেন, বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের দায়িত্ব নেওয়ার পরে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের প্রতিটি আধিকারিকের দায়িত্ব হচ্ছে সরকারের নিয়ন্ত্রণ মুক্ত থেকে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের উন্নতির জন্য যা যা করণীয়, যে কোনো বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় যা যা করণীয় পুরোটা করা। আজকে পশ্চিমবঙ্গে এটা হচ্ছে বিশেষ ভূমিকা। যদি শিক্ষাকে নিয়ন্ত্রণের কোনো চেষ্টা না থাকতো, শিক্ষা জগৎকে নিয়ন্ত্রণের কোনো চেষ্টা না থাকতো, তাহলে এই আলোচ্য বিষয়বস্তু থেকে আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গটা বাদ দিয়ে দিতে হতো। আলোচনার বিষয়বস্তু হতো বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা, বা পশ্চিমবঙ্গে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা হলে বিগত কয়েক দশক ধরে পশ্চিমবঙ্গের বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলো যে অবস্থার মধ্যে দিয়ে গিয়েছে তারও হয়তো একটা আলোচনার জায়গা থাকতো। কিন্তু বিষয়বস্তুতে আমাদের সীমাবদ্ধ করে দিয়েছেন আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা। তাহলে দুটো জিনিস আমরা পেলাম, ছাত্রদের মধ্যে তাদের ব্যক্তিত্বের পূর্ণ বিকাশের জন্য সমস্ত রকমের স্বাধীনতা দিতে হবে। তারা যদি শাসক দলের বিরুদ্ধে কিছু বলতে চায়, গলা খুলে বলতে পারবে, তার জন্য মঞ্চের ব্যবস্থা করতে হবে, যাতে বাইরে গিয়ে তার বহিঃপ্রকাশ না করতে হবে। শিক্ষায় বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের যারা দায়িত্বপ্রাপ্ত, তাদের সরকারি নিয়ন্ত্রণ মুক্ত হয়ে কাজ করতে হবে, যাতে ছাত্ররাও তাদেরকে সেই শ্রদ্ধার আসনে বসাতে পারে, যেখান থেকে তারা কথা বললে ছাত্রদের কাছে মনে হবে এটা গ্রহণযোগ্য। আর আরেকটা জিনিস, একটা ভালোবাসার পরিবেশ সৃষ্টি করতে হবে। বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে যে অসন্তোষগুলো দেখি, ছাত্র অসন্তোষ, ঘেরাও বা ইত্যাদি ইত্যাদি দেখি, আমার কোথাও যেন মনে হয় ছাত্র শিক্ষক সম্পর্কের মধ্যে বা প্রশাসন ছাত্রের সম্পর্কের মধ্যে আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গে যেন একটা ভালোবাসার অভাব তৈরি হয়ে গেছে। অর্থাৎ প্রশাসনের যারা মানুষ, তারা আমার প্রতিপক্ষ নয়, তারা আমার শুভাকাঙ্ক্ষী, তারা আমার উন্নতি চান, বহির্বিশ্বে আমরা প্রতিষ্ঠা পাই সেটা চান, এবং সারা বিশ্বের দুয়ার আমাদের জন্য মানুষ হিসেবে খুলে দিতে চান। এই বোধটা যেন সঞ্চারিত হয়। আজকে একটা পরিবারের কর্তার সামনে দাঁড়িয়ে যদি পরিবারের অন্যরা সম্মানের সঙ্গে তার নির্দেশটুকু মেনে নেয়, সেটা মেনে নেয় ভয়ে নয়, ভালোবাসায়। মানে আজকে যখন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলো দিকে তাকাই, বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের প্রশাসনকে অমান্য করার একটা চেষ্টা বর্তমান পশ্চিমবঙ্গের বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলোতে দেখা যায়। আমার মনে হয় যদি ভালোবাসার বাতাবরণ সৃষ্টি করা যায়, তাহলে শিক্ষার পরিবেশ উন্নত হবে। এবং এখান থেকে মানে প্রেসিডেন্সি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় নয়, পশ্চিমবঙ্গের বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে যারা বৃহত্তর বিশ্বে আগামী দিনে জায়গা করে নিয়ে যেতে পারবে, তারা তাদের প্রতিষ্ঠানকে ভালোবাসবে, পশ্চিমবঙ্গকে তুলে ধরবার একটা চেষ্টা থাকবে যদি তারা মনে করে পশ্চিমবঙ্গের বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলো তাদেরকে সেই সুযোগ দিয়েছে। সুতরাং আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গে অন্য সমস্ত ভূমিকা সব বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে, আজকের পশ্চিমবঙ্গের এই বিশেষ ভূমিকায় বোধহয় এই ভূমিকাগুলোই বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের সবচেয়ে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা।
পাত্রকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ, খুব খোলামেলাভাবে কতগুলো প্রসঙ্গ উত্থাপন করার জন্য। যারা এই ধরনের পেশাদার টক শো পরিচালনা করেন, তারা এই ধরনের বক্তব্য কেউ পেশ করলে খুব খুশি হন, খুব উল্লসিত হন। এটা অনেক সম্ভাবনার দরজা খুলে দেয়, অনেক রকমভাবে আলোচনার পরে এগোতে পারে। খেলার ভাষায় বলতে গেলে পিচ এখন এমনভাবে তৈরি হয়েছে যে পেসার স্পিনার সকলেই সমান সুযোগ পাবেন, ব্যাটসম্যানদের পক্ষে ভালো খেলার সুযোগ আছে। আমি এরপরে একজন রাজপুরুষকে তাদের যাকে রাষ্ট্রশক্তির সঙ্গে যুক্ত মিস্টার দেবাশিসের বাবু যদি কিছু বলে দিত।
নমস্কার, আমার অগ্রজ শ্রী প্রসাদ রঞ্জন রায়, ভাইস চ্যান্সেলর, সুধীবৃন্দ। আসলে যে বড় পিচটা খুলে গেছে সেখানে ফাঁকা মাঠ পেয়েও আমরা বল করতে পারবো না, কারণ হচ্ছে আমি সরকারি কর্মচারী এখনো, এবং সুতরাং আমাদের রুলস অফ বিজনেস আছে, আমাদের ওয়েস্টার্ন সার্ভিস রুলস আছে, আমরা কিন্তু ফাঁকা মাঠ দেবো না। আমি যেটা দেবো একেবারে অ্যাকর্ডিং টু দ্য রুল বুকই কয়েকটা ছোটখাটো বল দেবো। অনেক করে ভাবছিলাম ফিজিক্স কি করে আজকের বাংলায় ভালো করতে পারে, কিন্তু যে চিন্তাটা দেখছি, একটু আগেই বলছিলেন পার্থবাবু যে কারেন্ট বাংলা নিয়েই কথা বলা উচিত। হ্যাঁ, আমি কারেন্ট বাংলা নিয়েই কথা বলবো, এই মুহূর্তে যে কাজ করছি সেটা নিয়েই কথা বলবো। ঠিক 1 বছর আগে আপনাকে পিছিয়ে নিয়ে যাবো। হঠাৎ সকালবেলা টিভি খুলে দেখলাম, সুদেববাবুও নিশ্চয়ই ছিলেন সে সময়, ভোর 3:50 হবে, ইএম বাইপাস থেকে ভিআইপি রোড যাওয়ার পথে যে উড়ান পুলটা আছে, যে দিনটাতে প্রায় 250 কোটি টাকা নির্মিত, সেটা হুড়মুড় করে ভেঙে গেছে। কেএমডি এটা বানিয়েছিল। কেএমডি নগরায়ণ বিভাগের অধীনস্থ একটি সংস্থা। সকালবেলা টিভি খুলতে এই খবর, খুব ফরচুনেট যে আমরা কেউ হতাহত বিশেষ কিছু হয়নি, সাংঘাতিক একটা কিছু হতে পারে। বৈজ্ঞানিকরা বলেন, মানে টেকনোলজিস্টরা বলেন যে 200 বছরে একটা ব্রিজ এরকম ভাবে ভাঙতে পারে। কি করে ভাঙলো, গভর্নমেন্ট কি করে, প্রথমে একটা কমিটি করে, কমিটির চেয়ারম্যান ছিলাম আমি, কিন্তু টেকনিক্যাল কমিটি যার উপর আমরা সবচেয়ে বেশি নির্ভর করেছিলাম সেটা ছিল যাদবপুর ইউনিভার্সিটি। সরকারের ক্ষমতা নেই এখানে কি করে টেকনিক্যাল ব্যাপার হয়, অনেক কিছু জেনেছিলাম। ভারী মজার প্রসঙ্গ পেলে আরেকদিন বলবো। যোগেন চৌধুরী মহাশয় বর্তমানের এমপি, তিনি শান্তিনিকেতনে থাকেন। তিনি সরকারের এগেনস্টে কেস করলেন যে শান্তিনিকেতন, যেখানে গুরুদেব একটু আগে খুব সুন্দর অনুষ্ঠান হচ্ছিল বিজ্ঞান এবং রবীন্দ্রনাথ দিয়ে, সে রবীন্দ্রনাথের জায়গায় খোয়াই, যারা শান্তিনিকেতনে অনেকেই গেছে নিশ্চয়ই, ওই খোয়াই হচ্ছে একটা জিওমরফোলজিক্যাল ফরমেশন, ওই নদী বহুকাল দিয়ে টেরাকোটা মাটির উপর দারুণ ফরমেশন একটা হয়, সেটা আর করা যায় না। বলছে খোয়াইয়ের উপর ডেভেলপাররা, প্রমোটাররা বড় বড় বাণিজ্যিক সংস্থা বানাচ্ছে। গেল কোর্টে, সিঙ্গেল বেঞ্চ, ডাবল বেঞ্চ, সুপ্রিম কোর্ট, সুরের ঠাকুরের কেস, অনেক কিছু হলো। শেষ পর্যন্ত বললো কোনো কনস্ট্রাকশন, কোর্ট থেকে বললো কোনো কনস্ট্রাকশন করা যাবে না খোয়াই ল্যান্ডের উপর, এটা একটা বাংলার তথা ভারতবর্ষের একটা ঐতিহ্য। সুতরাং কমপ্লিটলি নতুন ল্যান্ডের মাস্টার প্ল্যান না করে কোনো কনস্ট্রাকশন হবে না। আজও যদি আপনি শান্তিনিকেতনে বাড়ি করতে চান, আপনার বাড়ি তৈরির পারমিশন কিন্তু দেওয়া যাবে না এটার জন্য। আর কি বললো কোর্ট বললো একটা সুন্দর নগর পরিকল্পনা করতে হবে এবং তার জন্য বিশ্বভারতী রাজ্য সরকার সবাই মিলে সেটা অনুমোদন দিলে সেই অনুযায়ী হবে। রাজ্য সরকার কি করলো, আমরা কি করলাম, আমি কি করলাম, আইআইটি খড়গপুরকে বললাম, ওদের ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ আর্কিওলজি প্রফেসর বি কে সেনগুপ্ত আমার দীর্ঘদিনের পরিচিত, বললাম দাদা কি করা যায়। শেষ পর্যন্ত তারা এখন এলইউডিসিপি আমরা বলি, টাউন অ্যান্ড কান্ট্রি প্ল্যানিং অ্যাক্টে ল্যান্ড ইউজ ডেভেলপমেন্ট অ্যান্ড কন্ট্রোল প্ল্যান তৈরি করছে। গত শুক্রবারই ওদের সঙ্গে বিস্তারিত মিটিং করেছি, বছর খানেকের মধ্যে প্ল্যানটা রেডি হয়ে যাবে এবং আমরা পশ্চিমবঙ্গের ঐতিহ্য রক্ষা করব বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় আইআইটির সহযোগিতায়। ভারতবর্ষ জুড়ে এখন চলছে দূষণ কমাও, গঙ্গা দূষণ কমাও, নমামি গঙ্গা, ন্যাশনাল গঙ্গা রিভার বেসিন অথরিটি, তার চেয়ারম্যান হচ্ছে প্রধানমন্ত্রী, তারা মিলে খুব করছেন। কিন্তু কি করে করা যায়, সেই ছোটবেলা পাঠসংকলে পড়েছিলাম, শ্রীকান্ত সবাই বলেছিল না, সে লাউ তো বটে কিন্তু আনে কি, গঙ্গার দূষণ তো কমাও, কিন্তু কমাবো কি করে? এটা তো একটা লোকালাইজড ব্যাপার না, বিশাল ব্যাপার, একটা বেসিক, একটা হাইড্রোলজিক্যাল এবং কত ধরনের স্টাডি করতে হবে। হোয়াট ডাজ দ্য গভর্নমেন্ট ডু? গভর্নমেন্ট যত আইআইটি আছে ভারতবর্ষে, আইআইটি খড়গপুর থেকে, দিল্লি থেকে, কানপুর থেকে, গুয়াহাটি থেকে, সব জায়গার আইআইটি মিলে একটা কনসোর্শিয়াম বানিয়েছে এবং সেই কনসোর্শিয়ামের মধ্যে এক একটা আইআইটিকে এক একটা অ্যাসপেক্ট অফ গঙ্গা পলিউশন দেখতে বলেছে এবং তারা একটা ওভারঅল গঙ্গা ম্যানেজমেন্ট প্ল্যান করছে। সুতরাং সমস্ত জায়গায় যে দূষণ হচ্ছে তার একটা অ্যানালিসিস করে একটা প্র্যাকটিক্যাল সলিউশন দেওয়ার জন্য সেই কিন্তু কেন্দ্রীয় সরকারকেও এবং যে গঙ্গা আমাদের পশ্চিমবঙ্গের মধ্যে দিয়েও যাচ্ছে তার জন্য কিন্তু বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কাছেই যেতে হচ্ছে। আর লেটেস্ট আমাদের এখানে আমি ফিজিক্সের সঙ্গে একটা সম্পর্ক পাচ্ছি এতদিন পরে, আর একটু ছোট আছে পরে বলছি, সেটা হচ্ছে আচ্ছা তাই বলি সেটা হচ্ছে এখন খুব স্মার্ট সিটি। এখন জানেন এবারের বাজেটে অনেক কিছু বলেছে যে ভারতবর্ষ ব্যাপী 100টা স্মার্ট সিটি হবে। এখন স্মার্ট সিটি যে কি নানা মনের নানা মত, এবং আলটিমেটলি এটাকে যখন আমাদের করতে হবে, শহরগুলো বাঁচতে হবে, তো প্ল্যান অফ অ্যাকশন করতে হবে, কিন্তু তার আগে তো বুঝতে হবে স্মার্ট সিটি ব্যাপারটা কি। যেখানে পর্যাপ্ত জল নেই, যেখানে পর্যাপ্ত আলো নেই, সেখানে কি করে স্মার্ট সিটি হবে? আপনার কম্পিউটার, ইন্টারনেট, মডেম তো চলবেই না। সো অবভিয়াসলি ফার্স্ট বেসিক ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার থাকবে, সেটা নিশ্চয়ই বলা হচ্ছে, কিন্তু তারপরে টেকনোলজি। আমি দিল্লিতে আইবিএম এর কেন্দ্রে গেলাম, সেখানে গিয়ে কিছু বুঝলাম, সিসকো কিছু বলছে, আমাদের ম্যাডাম একটু আগে আইটির ব্যাপারে বলছিলেন যে শি ইজ এনজয়িং হার জব থরলি। আমরা বহু লোকের সঙ্গে কন্ট্যাক্ট করছি, কিন্তু আলটিমেটলি কি করে আইটি একটা মানুষের, আমার আপনার জীবনে, আমার আপনার বাড়ির জন্য একটা উপকারে লাগতে পারে ইন আ প্র্যাকটিক্যাল সেন্স রাদার দ্যান আ কসমেটিক সেন্স, এই ব্যাপারে কিন্তু সত্যিই চিন্তা ভাবনা আমরা করছি। এবং আলটিমেটলি মেবি ইটস নট আ ইউনিভার্সিটি বাট ন্যাশনাল ইনস্টিটিউট অফ স্মার্ট গভর্নেন্স, তাদের আমরা সাহায্য নিচ্ছি যাতে করে আমরা বুঝতে পারি হাউ বেস্ট টু কনস্টিটিউট আ স্মার্ট সিটি। সুতরাং আমাদের জগতে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের প্রয়োজন, আমি আমার প্রত্যক্ষ একদম কারেন্ট আমি যে ওয়ার্ক করছি তার থেকে কয়েকটি এক্সাম্পল দিলাম, এবং এটা প্রচুর বাড়ানো যায়। একটা সম্পূর্ণ অন্য দিক দিয়ে বলতে গেলে, এইমাত্র ম্যাডাম ভাইস চ্যান্সেলরের সঙ্গে কথা হচ্ছিল, আমাদের রাজারহাট নিউটাউন যেটা হিটকপ করছে, ঘটনা চক্রের যার চেয়ারম্যানও আমি, সেখানেও কিন্তু আমরা প্রেসিডেন্সি ইউনিভার্সিটি একটা জমি দেওয়া হয়েছে, 10 একরের জমি, সেন্ট জেভিয়ার্সকে দেওয়া হয়েছে, আইআইটিকে দেওয়া হয়েছে, আলিয়া ইউনিভার্সিটিকে দেওয়া হচ্ছে, রবীন্দ্র ভারতী ইউনিভার্সিটিকে দেওয়া হচ্ছে। এবং সেখানেও কি বাংলা গড়ার ক্ষেত্রে আগামী দিনের প্রেসিডেন্সি ইউনিভার্সিটি কিরকম হবে, সেটার জন্যও কি বাংলা গড়ার পার্ট নয়? আমি বলবো এই যে একটা জিনিস যাবো, এবং আমি কনক্লুড করছি, আমি যেটা বলতে চাইছি, যদি অনেক একটা বিষয় ছিল, সেটা হচ্ছে আমার যেটা মনে হয়, আমরা সুদেববাবু বলেছেন, আমি 76 to 79 দীর্ঘদিন হয়ে গেছে, তখন প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজ ছিল, আমরা তখন থেকে ইউনিভার্সিটি কবে হবে ভাবতাম, ইউনিভার্সিটি এখন হয়েছে। এখন আমাদের মেইন যেটা থট প্রসেস সেই সময় ছিল, জানি না এখনকার স্টুডেন্টসরা কি ভাবে, ইউনিভার্সিটি হলে ইউ হ্যাভ দ্য এবিলিটি টু ডিজাইন ইয়ার সিলেবাস। আজকে সর্বভারতীয় যা চাইছে, খানিকটা হয়তো, খুবই খানিকটা হয়তো আমি বললাম, আমি স্মার্ট সিটি সম্বন্ধে জানতে চাইছি, আমি পলিউশন সম্বন্ধে জানতে চাইছি, আমি আইটি সম্বন্ধে জানতে চাইছি, আমি ওয়াটার রিসাইক্লিং সম্বন্ধে জানতে চাইছি। আমারই ব্যাচমেট দিল্লি থেকে অ্যাটমিক এনার্জি থেকে ফোন করে বলছে ফিজিক্সের সঙ্গে সম্পর্ক, যে তুমি যে এত ওয়াটার রিসাইক্লিং করছো ওয়েস্ট ওয়াটারে, তুমি কি জানো যে ভাবা অ্যাটমিক রিসার্চ সেন্টার থেকে তারা রেডিয়েশন দিয়ে ওয়াটার রিসাইক্লিং কত সুন্দরভাবে করছে? I said, I don't know. সো এইসব ব্যাপারে সিলেবাস চেঞ্জ করে আমাদের বর্তমান গতানুগতিক জায়গা থেকে বেরিয়ে আরো বেশি পাবলিক ডিলিংস, ডিবেটস, কুইজেস অ্যান্ড ওপেনিং আউট, এটার ব্যাপারে এই যে একটা নতুন ক্যাম্পাস, নতুন ইউনিভার্সিটি, সিলেবাস করার যে জায়গা, পশ্চিমবঙ্গ কেন, ভারতবর্ষ কেন, বিশ্বের জগতের প্রোগ্রেশনটাকে চেঞ্জ করার ক্ষমতা কিন্তু প্রেসিডেন্সি তথা ফিজিক্স ডিপার্টমেন্ট রাখে, এ বিশ্বাস আমার আছে। নমস্কার।
শুনলাম, আমরা আরেকবার একটু এবার ফিরে যাই বিজ্ঞানে, পদার্থ বিজ্ঞানে। আমাদের সঙ্গে রয়েছেন প্রফেসর অনিতা মেহতা, এস.এন. বোস ন্যাশনাল সেন্টার ফর বেসিক সায়েন্সেসের। প্রফেসর মেহতা, প্লিজ। Role of a university in current West Bengal.
Good evening. First of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here to visit my old college and to speak on a topic which is actually very close to my heart. And just to repeat this, the topic is actually the role of a university in today's West Bengal. And Parthaga has given a very eloquent analysis of the word today. And I want to actually take that a little bit further, but in a different direction. So, if I had to say it in a nutshell, what I would say is that the role of a university in today's West Bengal, the role of this university maybe, is to restore a sense of confidence in our own excellence. Okay, that to me is really the role that all of us should be aspiring to, whichever discipline we're in. And of course, the word excellence is bandied about a lot. So what do I really mean by that? So in order to answer this question, I will go a little bit to the past and a little bit to the future. So if I go to the past, I want to say that, when we came in our 20s to Presidency College, I mean, there was no question that we were among the best minds in the world. We never ever thought differently. Now maybe this is sheer arrogance, but given the very distinguished people in this audience, I don't think that that's completely off the mark. So, we just had the confidence to know that not only were we among the best minds in our particular discipline, and I have benefited enormously from my teachers, as have most of my contemporaries, but also, if I wanted to know something about something in a different discipline, I knew that the best person in economics or in English was also here. And it's that sense of confidence and that sense of excellence that I feel we should try to bring back in some way. But since time travel to the past, alas, is not possible, this has to be done with an eye to the future. So the real question boils down to this: what can we do to bring back that sense of confidence, that sense of excellence? And one of the things that I think that we certainly grew up with, and which is a hallmark of good universities around the world, is a sense of interdisciplinarity. That's a fancy name for saying all of us should aspire to be rounded people. We should all want to know what the others think, what other disciplines think, but also in a very technical sense in today's day and age, when physics is being applied to the brain, when economics is sort of benefiting from the tools of game theory, and so on and so forth, there is a very, very professional reason why disciplines should mingle. And I think this university has done a marvelous job in setting up its Gen Ed course. During my informal chat with the two charming young people who came to pick me up, I said to them how lucky they were that they had the benefit of learning not just, from other disciplines, but in fact that their courses had been tailored to today's needs. I think I would not offend anyone if I said that, most of us bunked our chemistry pass classes, and certainly in the mathematics ones, I can't really remember what I learned that was any use when I subsequently went on to do a degree in Oxford. In particular, I remember rueing the fact that we weren't taught any linear algebra. So you see, courses that are actually apposite, combined with the possibility of learning about other disciplines, this is a very concrete step towards not just making a more Renaissance person, which of course is very good for reasons I will go into, but also is something that is terribly important in the world of research. Speaking of which, I think another aim of any university today should be that it should be a research university. And any university today, I mean particularly in West Bengal, it would be wonderful to see some of the great minds who are here being leaders also in their own fields of research. This has already started, and I'm sure that there will be more to come. And the other thing I want to say is that, this might sound terribly, on one hand, highfalutin, to talk about Renaissance people, or it might even sound nostalgic for a world that, perhaps was only in our imaginations. But in fact, in the hard, cold world of hiring in today's business and corporate world, people are looking for rounder people. People don't just want somebody who solves one problem and can't do anything else. People like communications, good communication skills. People like people who have an eye open for different disciplines. People want to know, if you're a consultant, for example, for some firm, how well do you know your science or your economics, but also how well do you know your politics. So all of these things, these concrete things, number one, interdisciplinarity, where a start has been made. Number two, making this sort of intercourse between research and teaching a very alive thing. That's number two. And number three, I feel that with some effort in these directions and with the brains that we already have among us, the restoration of a sense of excellence, of a sense of self-confidence, so that I remember when I went to Oxford, I didn't really feel that anybody I met there was that much more intelligent or well-informed than people I'd had around me. And I actually said this, much to the surprise and chagrin of some of my Oxford classmates. But, that sense of self-confidence that we are here and we are the center of the earth in some sense, we're the center of the universe in some sense, or we can hold our own with any other university anywhere in the world. I think that would be the most important role for a university in today's West Bengal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mehta. আমি এবার অনুরোধ করবো মিস্টার দুলাল কৃষ্ণ বসু তাকে তার বক্তব্য বলার জন্য।
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank Professor Somakrai Choudhury for inviting me as a panelist in this discussion. I would rather be happy if I were called to play a cricket match outside, which I used to do in my student days and maybe many years after that, and had broken a few glasses of bacon laboratory. So that is about the past. And now about the topic that we have been given today. So far we have had many distinguished speakers talking about the excellence of Presidency College, which is now a university, and the contributions that its products have given to the country and to the world at large. I would take a cue from those discussions, plus I will go beyond Presidency University, because the topic today is role of a university in today's West Bengal. So it need not be confined to the Presidency University alone. Now when you talk of a university, any university, the basic premise that we start with is that it's a center of excellent learning. That is the ideal situation where learning and education, they go hand in hand and produce good students. Now, but that ideal situation, just like there is no ideal gas and we had van der Waals to modify the perfect gas equation and make the behavior of the real gases understood through the changes that van der Waals made. Similarly, there is no ideal situation in which universities today are functioning. Universities are put to tremendous pressures, as Professor Sinha has already spoken and others have already joined course, that there is a tremendous pressure from the sponsors. It need not necessarily be the state. Even when there are private universities, the corporates funding the universities, they also create undue pressures on the university administration. And because of those pressures, a lot of distortions take place, and sometimes the atmosphere, the environment in the university loses the basic structure in which good, positive learning can take place. And what I feel that just like a tree is known by its fruits, similarly a university is definitely known by the contributions its students make to the society. Therefore, the basic test that the university, a good university, will have to face always is that the students which come out from that university, they do well in life. They become useful to the society at large. Coming to the topic of today's West Bengal. We know that West Bengal is not in a healthy state of affairs insofar as the political atmosphere is concerned. And because of that, I'm sorry to say that we are losing talent to other states, places like Bangalore, Hyderabad, New Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, where many of our good students are going to get higher education. A few days back, my friend and batchmate Professor Sobasachi Bhattacharya wrote in the Telegraph that today's students didn't flee as I did. But I think that situation is really not yet there. Many students are also going out even today. So the spectre of 1970-71, which we had faced as students, I think the students of today, they are also facing similar problems. The other point that I wish to make about the products of the university. Now, here I would take a cue from George Bernard Shaw. Now, he said, if you want to get stuck to a money-making profession, you have got to pass an examination. Now, that is perhaps one of the major reasons why people go for higher education. They have to get stuck to a money-making profession. And there are lots and lots of professions available in George Bernard Shaw's time and in today's time, today also. So, the real issue is, apart from the excellence in research, which a university has to provide and pursue, the other aspect that needs to be focused on is whether the students of the university are being accepted in the outside world for various functions needed by the society. And there, being employable. Unfortunately, not all students of all universities can claim that. And the times are really, really bad. Today, technology has come to such a state of affairs that whatever can be automated, whatever can be mechanized, will be mechanized or automated maybe within the next 10 to 20 years. And there is already a tremendous downsizing of employment everywhere. So the employability of the people passing out of a university, whether in the graduate level or postgraduate level, that employability is really has to be ensured. In 2012, I had access to Wall Street Journal study, which has not been published for reasons best known to them, where they said that out of the MBAs passing out of various business schools in India, 20 to 25% were unemployable by any standards. They didn't get jobs anywhere for several years, so they had to settle for something, some very petty job, which their qualification taken from these MBA business schools didn't give them any suitable placement in the industry. So, apart from, again, emphasizing that definitely research is one of the core functions of any university, but say, let me take example of the physics students. Every year in India, by any rough estimate, at least 50,000 students are taking physics honors courses. Now, if that number is multiplied by 3 years during which a course takes place, and most of them do not go for research, so they will go out to the outside world for various kinds of jobs. Are they getting enough skill to be absorbed in the various industries that are functional outside? Now, that is a question that we have to explore and try to resolve. We have to not only teach them the knowledge, because today knowledge is available online. There are massive open online courses where almost everything known to man is available at the press of a button. My son, who has gifted me a small smartphone, he says that this smartphone can capture whatever is available in a mini library. I don't know, I have not used it for those purposes. But today, information, facts are available at the fingertips of every student. If they know how to get it, where to get it. But the real question that remains is how to apply it. How to apply it in life. I once again go back to a quotation from Swami Vivekananda. What he said, if you have assimilated 5 ideas, just 5 ideas, and made them part of your self and character, then you are more educated than anyone who has got by heart a full library. So the real thing that is needed for the society is application of knowledge. Knowledge itself is not enough. Definitely universities will impart knowledge. That is the primary purpose of a university. But how the students apply those knowledge in real life situation, that is assuming a very vital question these days. In fact, according to one estimate, in the next 20 years, the reduction in jobs across the world will be to the order of 70-75% as compared to today. Now, where will these people who will get out of the universities go? What will they do in outside world after getting the degrees from various universities? Not just in West Bengal. West Bengal is just one one example, one part of it. So really, we have to build up the student skills in such a way that they are able to innovate newer and newer applications of the knowledge. Now in the afternoon I was listening to Professor Pulak Datta, who was mentioning that in 1920, I forgot the name of the scientist, sorry for that, somebody was doing work at the molecular level, which is nothing but what nanoscientists are doing today, 100 years later. But today, nanotechnology has come to such a state where three-dimensional TV viewing, antibacterial mobile phone screens have been developed by students of universities because they have been given access not only to the original work but also to the patents of those work, and therefore this access, the infrastructure, the facility that the universities are already having in their store should be made more open. That is an area where universities need to think that how we can make the best use of the knowledge already available with us. Now, if we can ensure that, then the students coming out of any university, they will find better and better placements in life, and they will grow into tomorrow's leaders. So apart from their own personal self-development, apart from their own good work-life balance, apart from their getting adequate amount of money to run their own affairs, they can also contribute better to the society, and therefore I think the universities, one of the principal roles that the universities will need to look at is how they can make the students more skilled in various areas, whatever areas is possible through the courses being adopted. And here I have one more suggestion. I mentioned about the massive open online courses. Now the universities can take the help of those courses. Professor Sinha talked about spreading the university beyond West Bengal. Now today there is no university in West Bengal. If the university has a massive open online course, like say Khan Academy or Coursera or iVersity, then many students from all over India and maybe beyond, they can be students of President's University or Jadavpur University or Calcutta University. And the courses and the examinations can be suitably streamlined so that the quality of the students getting a degree from that university through the online education is no less than the quality of the students taking the course inside. Now that will also save a lot of money for those boys and girls who are placed in remote villages or remote places, but they get the same best quality education from the best teachers who are available in West Bengal or anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Dulababu, thank you. আমাদের সময় অনেকখানি চলে গেছে, বক্তা অবস্থার বিশেষ অবশিষ্ট এই তিনজনই আছেন। আমি এরপর অনুরোধ করব প্রসাদ রঞ্জন রায়কে তার বক্তব্য পেশ করার জন্য।
Madam Vice Chancellor, other speakers on the dais and the rest of you, of course the numbers are dwindling because time is going on. I thought an advantage of speaking late was that almost everything else has been spoken about. So one can say, well, I so much agree with what has been said before. Well, I do agree with many of the things said before. I also do not agree with some of the things that have been said. But I will be very brief, and I'll speak only on 3-4 points. One is that unlike Partho, I believe the role of a university in current West Bengal is not really very different from the role of a university at any time. The university must provide an environment in which students can come in, feel free, feel that it's a new world that's open up. They're free to learn, and they're also free to interact amongst themselves with the outside world and with their teachers. And with this, they should also be free to access resources, whether these resources lie in the minds of the professors, or they lie in the library books, or they are there in the internet to be tapped. These resources must be made available. I do understand that things have changed quite a lot, not just here. In many of the universities, we do have that. We do have resources which are much better. In our time, for example, which Madam Vice Chancellor was kind enough to describe as saying that the physics students were sort of a cream de la cream in those days. But our libraries were of precious little use to us. There were 2 or 3 copies of each essential book, and they were always issued out. You couldn't get them. So I hope that the universities in future will be providing resources both in terms of written and printed material and in terms of material that is on the net. Because to subscribe to some of these net academic journals and other academic groups costs money, and only an institution can afford that, individual students cannot. Having said that, I do notice that even in our time, the students who came from rural areas or from smaller towns were at a disadvantage compared to the Calcutta-based students, boys or girls. And this is something I'm sure continues even today. I think the university of today or university of the future needs something to bridge this gap, because these inequities within our society are there and they will remain there for quite some time. I think we need to have some compensatory courses for people who are weak in certain aspects. I think there should be, students should have choice. This is something that was referred to by one of my previous speakers, and I would only correct on one point. People who studied physics honors could only take mathematics, certainly compulsory, either statistics or geology or chemistry. These were the only 3 past subjects. Well, today, at least here, the students do have choice. In most other universities, they do not. Well, we hope that the university of the future will be giving this kind of choice. We hope the students will have say. Say in what? Say in attending classes. I will not go into the controversy of whether there should remain a 75% attendance rule or not. Many of the younger people very strongly feel that they do not. And in fact, in some of the other universities I did attend, there was no attendance being marked at all. So that's a different question. But students should have the right to evaluate their teachers. And this is something that should be taken very seriously. I do understand that presidency has again taken some steps in this direction, but this is a far cry from many others. Having said that, I think in general, the point was put forward very forcefully by Bartolo, that the universities should be free of state interference. Unfortunately and fortunately, I have served in the government for, 41 years now, if you've taken my time in the Electricity Regulatory Commission, but I am not free of government regulation, so I can speak my mind. While this is true, it is also true that almost all the universities, at least in our state, are public universities or state universities. Now there is no difference here between public and state universities. State universities are funded by the state government and they are controlled by the state government through acts. And these acts really lay down the basis on which the university statutes and university rules are framed. Therefore, it's a little difficult in my mind to visualize something that is set up by the state to be completely free of state control. I don't know how it is possible, but that is an elusive goal towards which all universities must move on. And that university campuses should be free from outside political interference. Again, this is something which was said by no less a person than Mr. Gopal Gandhi yesterday. I will not really go into this in the context of present day's West Bengal, but this is something that has not come about today. This was there in our student life. This was there in the time of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose also when he was a student here. So this is something that has gone into a little bit of our background and our heritage. So how we can break that? How we can have students expressing their voices without outside political parties coming in? Well, I do not have an answer, but we must collectively seek an answer to that and move towards that end. Only then do I see that the university as a live, vibrant place where young minds come in, they absorb things from outside, they interact not only with the student teachers but also amongst themselves, and they come out, hopefully, better human beings than the time when they entered, and people who are in a position to take informed decisions when they come up with decision making, which of course they will. And Shomak Raichaudhuri was mentioning this about people moving in from physics to other branches. So this doesn't strictly relate to this, but you will generally find in our country maybe 50% of the students will stay in the basic subject that they have learned. Other 50% will move into other branches of into other careers. And in fact, amongst the speakers here, you have chosen 4 from people who have stayed in academics, 4 from outside. So that reminded me of an experience of mine when I came up in the Hubert Humphrey Fellowship interviews. There was a gentleman from the south, very tall and imperious, and he kept on telling me, since I wanted to do some work in rural development and rural economics, that you will not be able to do that. It requires a lot of maths. I said, but I did physics, so I had no problem with that. Then again I said something, he said, no, you cannot do that, you don't have the background for that. I said, I have done physics. It has given me a logical base, and I should be able to solve those problems. At the end, he threw up his hands and he said, you make me think that studying physics is a panacea to all problems. People who have studied physics can solve any kind of problem. I said, well, really theoretically it should be that. It's not always that. Later on I came to know that gentleman was Mr. K.P.S. Menon, a venerable diplomat. But he was not able to keep me out of that particular selection. And I dare say I did not feel any difficulty in studying abroad in the University of Cornell, later on at the University College of London, where I spent some time. But in both these places, and in a few other places I've seen, I have not seen the kind of state control exercised in a, what should I say, in a ham-handed manner, as it is here. Not just presidency, maybe in selection is somewhat removed, but in other matters, these things continue. These are the things I would like to see in the universities of the future, maybe in the 21st century, maybe in the 22nd century. I have not spoken of selection of teachers and selection of other staff. I know that presidency has set up a new kind of a venture. But in most of the other universities, I am not really spilling state secrets, but the manner in which screening committees are set up is that the Higher Education Secretary sends up a file to the minister, either giving some names or leaving it blank, and the minister fills in names of 3 people who are known to be close to the ruling party, and these are selected, and then automatically the person whom they have in mind is recommended, and the person is selected. And I speak as a former Additional Chief Secretary in charge of Higher Education Department. I have not been able to break down that barrier in the 6 months that I had in that post. But I hope this is something that will go. How it will go, given the overall pattern of state control and the controversies that I spoke of earlier, I still do not know. But I do hope that some of these solutions will emerge, maybe from discussions like this, maybe from things that people will take out of this room and discuss outside amongst themselves. I do not see public funding, apart from state funding, as a major alternative in our state or in India. There is only one private university here in our state. And I would not really like to speak of that, but I do not think many of the private universities are really worth their salt. But public universities or state universities are there, and they will remain, and they will have to come to tackle some of these problems in the future. That's all I would like to share with you. Of course, in my mind, my days in Presidency College and my days in the University of Calcutta, these are sort of interlinked. We always regarded ourselves as students of Presidency first, and later on the University of Calcutta. And I still have difficulty in reconciling to Presidency as an autonomous university. Though, about the extent of autonomy, people might have questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rai. When Mr. Rai was raising certain issues like students having political views but staying outside of staying outside the influence of political parties at large. It reminded me of something which Professor Shamol Chandukti used to say to all of us in the class. I'm sure everybody remembers that. Asking the right question is at times more important than getting a ready-made answer. May I now invite Professor Ashok Sen to share his views on this. Professor Sen, please.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank Shomok for inviting me here, and also for Suchetana for not letting me escape. So I really don't have that much to say. First of all, I have not been in the university system in my working life. Also, I have been outside West Bengal for all my working life, so I am not even familiar with the ground realities of the state. But given these limitations, I still feel that the role of a university is really universal. I mean, it shouldn't change depending on where it's situated or at what time it's situated. And the way I see it, there are two major roles that a university has to play. The first is that a university is a place where knowledge is created. And this is one of the most important aspects that we must not forget. The second important aspect, of course, is that it's also the place where knowledge is shared and it's passed on to the younger generation. Both are equally important and both should be pursued. Now, one of the main ingredients for being able to do this is academic freedom. Okay, and this, as many speakers have said earlier, requires that the university be free from external influences, whether it's a state or whether it's a private funding. The funding agencies shouldn't really have anything to say about how the university is how the university functions. Now, I have no idea really how to achieve this, okay, because it's hard to fight either the state or the private agencies if they are the funding agencies. But what I'll try to discuss here is something that we can do, okay, and which we should try to guard ourselves against. And this is one of the reasons why I have seen many universities have failed, even without having the problem of external interference, and this has to do with the subject of inbreeding. And this is, okay, I'm saying this, it's particularly important for this university because it's young, and it's not at a stage where it has been affected by inbreeding, and it's something that we should be very careful about. We should keep in mind that our own students always stand in our mind better than other students, okay, or people elsewhere. And in fact, one of my distinguished colleagues from one of the distinguished institutes, which I will not name, once told me that we are supposed to keep 10% of our best students as faculty, but it turns out that 90% of our students are among the best 10%. And this is really what can lead to the downfall of the university. So this is something we should definitely protect against. Now, going in the same direction, I should say that the university, to be the top university should first try to become national and then international. And this is very important. And being national or being international doesn't really reflect weakness in the place where the university is situated. I mean, I can take, for example, the United States, which has most of the world's renowned universities. And if you look at any of the universities, you will find a large fraction of the people there, large fraction of the faculty and large fraction of the students are in fact from outside the country. This doesn't mean that the United States is not the country where most of the scientific research is going on. It simply means that they are the best because they have been able to attract people from everywhere else. And this should be true for all universities, including the ones here, also Presidency University. At present, perhaps it doesn't even have a faculty which can be called a national faculty because most of the people are originated in Bengal. So you should first try to go beyond this, and then eventually the goal should be to make it truly international. And that's more or less all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Chen. The speakers so far, all of them have been past students of the physics department, but none is currently associated with this university. The present Vice Chancellor, Professor MONDAY3, has been a past student, though not of the physics department. The speakers have sketched out an idea about what a university should be, more precisely, or more specifically, what is desired of Presidency University today. আমার জানতে ইচ্ছে করছে এখন যারা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় চালান তারা কি ভাবছেন এই বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভূমিকা সম্পর্কে বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের যিনি উপাচার্য প্রফেসর অনুরাধা তার কি মতামত আমি তাকে একটু এটা বলতে অনুরোধ করব
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shoma. Thank you, Shobhashajila, for giving me this opportunity and that I dare to speak in front of physicists. It's been a very challenging and stimulating panel discussion. And before I give you my views, I'd like to have a summation and a transcript of all the ideas that have been put forward. You're going to help me. And you're going to help the university in a very big way. I'm not going to repeat or touch upon any of the points that all the speakers have made. I'm going to give you two examples of what I have seen. I'm not going to touch on academic excellence. I think all of us know what we want from academic excellence. I'm not going to talk about the method of academic teaching or learning per se, because at Presidency, in the last 3 years, there's been a concerted effort to modernize the syllabus in a way which becomes flexible, in a way which becomes inclusive, and certainly we are doing much more than we dare to do more than many other places. I don't claim we are successful yet, but we are trying. So we won't touch upon what's an ongoing thing. I had a very shocking experience the moment I walked into this university as a Vice Chancellor. Within 6 weeks of my joining, I was out by a bunch of students. Why? It took me some time to understand what they were actually saying. I was not aware of rules and requirements, but finally what it petered down to was, we didn't qualify for direct admission to PG courses, but we are from Presidency, so we are excellent. We must be given an admission, come what may. And when I said, I'm sorry, there is a rule, 60% home students, 40% open admission test. But no, we are from Presidency. Why should we sit for the admission test? Basically, they didn't even qualify in that admission test. This was the first instance. The second instance was, as Prashad Babu just mentioned, about the 75% attendance. I'm not sure that any of us thought of attendance when we were in college. I don't remember. But I do remember going to class. I do remember that coming to college, my primary activity was going to class. I knew All my professors knew me and my colleagues, and I knew all of them, and we talked about class, and we did a lot of things outside of the classroom hours. So the question of attendance was not paramount. It was not even an issue. Why was it an issue this time? I was told by a bunch of students that, we've been involved in a very important social activity. And you understand we must express solidarity. It is for the cause of West Bengal. So we can't attend classes. So how many classes did you not attend? Oh, we didn't attend any. 0%. Fair enough. One cheeky one came in and asked, "Ma'am, don't you think life is outside the classroom?" I said, absolutely, after the classroom hours. These are just two instances, and I don't want to elaborate on it. All of you have read the newspapers and have got, either from Chobish Ghanta or from ABP Anandu, some misconstrued version of what I have said. My point is very clear. I'm not a rule master, but governance is something where some parameters have to be followed. I'm all for flexibility, but I'm also for going one step at a time and completing a goal we have come for. After I solved this attendance issue, I relaxed it to 50%, which is outside the room. I bent the room. The minister in charge called me and said, "Eta ki korle? 50% in namlen keno? Eta beaini." I'm thinking, beaini? Ami to 50% in namlam, ami jani na kotogulo college 0% e porikha dite boshe. So I didn't answer him, but this was a contention. I just think there should be a semblance of dignity, there should be a semblance of law and order, there should be a semblance of discipline. If not binding, if not military rule, but some personal sense of honor and an honor code where I do what I've come for. These are two things I wanted to bring to your notice because I think there are different impressions of how presidency reacted. I'm not taking it personally, but I'd like to share my experience. Academic excellence, we all know we want it. How do we do it? We are evolving a method. If you really ask me what is my wish list for the role of a university in current West Bengal, there are two things which I think are missing in West Bengal right now. And I speak as a Bengali from my heart. We are missing leadership. And we are missing entrepreneurship. One thing which was there in West Bengal more than the rest of the country, which is why Bengal showed the way. Where is the leadership, political or otherwise? If we have one or two leaders, we tend to make them into demigods because there's no one to match them. There's no one to compete. So if the university is a place to develop leadership, there can be two kinds of leadership. One is, so the growth curve, I'm a biologist, I come back to it. We have something called a growth curve. And it is a curve which has a very steep sort of ascent and then it plateaus off. In many cases, depending on the organism, the growth curve can be, the steep part can be extended and in some cases it can be very short. I find that the ones who want to become leaders, political leaders, express themselves very vehemently in their first year of joining the university. And they don't care about academics, and be that as it may, I respect their wishes. So what do they want to do? I want to be a political leader. Well, I think what Gopal Gandhi said yesterday was fabulous. You can be a protester, but you have to have clean hands and a clean conscience. Come to me to your leadership with clean hands and clean conscience and I respect you. Not because I failed, but you have to pass me. I didn't go to class, but you have to give me the exam. That, in my eyes, is not a reasonable excuse. So leadership, if they want to develop leadership as political leadership, I'm all for it. Let's give them the platform, but they have to be sure it's done with responsibility. We are here to share responsibility and to teach them that responsibility as well. But no, they know it all. You know, it's very interesting. In presidency, there are 4 or 3 unions of students, IC, SFI, DSO. Left, ultra left, ultra left. Where is the competition? And even if we went to TMC, we all know it's really still left. So where do we go? Why are we not developing a political ideology of our own? not of the state. If the state has to survive, every individual needs a political ideologue. I would like to have my political ideologue, how I want to live, how I want to study, how I want to do things in life. So I don't think there's any difference between politics and what in Sanskrit we say dharma. It's not religion, it's my way of living. But what I see as way of living is very, very low and despicable. I speak strong words because I don't think we have time for going around the bush. The other thing which I think West Bengal desperately needs, and I think the requirement for political leadership will go down, is if we have entrepreneurs. What has happened? There are no jobs. Where are these students going to go? They have to go to Hyderabad and they'll become backroom boys. They have to go to Silicon Valley and become backroom boys. Or BPOs, more disastrous. The same students who could not get into PG came to me and said, Madam, jabo kothay chakri to nahi. I, with all my zeal, rang up a software company because these were math students, and I said, Amar kache erokom 20 students ache jara pacche na kothao admission. And a very reputed company came and said, 3 দিনের orientation course korbo 20 জনকে নেব। এরা বলল আমরা তো যাব না, চাকরি চাই না তো, পিজিতে admission চাই। What are we talking about? There's so much confusion. Personally, not a single person knows, and an 18-year-old today is not the 18-year-old who came to college in 1972. We were children. These guys know better than us, and they are far more mature. And they're clueless. All they know is they want their place in the sun. Notice me. We're going to have student elections here in February, or January late, whenever. I said, why are we doing the usual thing? Why can't we do it online? Now, madam, ওরা তো ওখানে গিয়ে যে যখন নমিনেশনটা ফাইল করবে, then everyone will clap for them. What are we talking about? Student elections? No. My 1-minute claim to fame that I filed a nomination for so-and-so in this thing. I'm just trying to tell you, there's no depth left. There's no thinking left. There's no personal responsibility. Also, this is only for a minority of our students. 2,500 or somewhat odd students in presidency, I am talking mostly about 200 students. The remaining come to me and say, I could not attend class because I applied for the Rhodes Fellowship. Can I be excused? Of course. Can I form a literary society and a debating society? Of course. They are the quiet ones. They never come and they're waiting to give their GRE and run because they don't want to deal with the dadas. One of them came and told me, you know, I had to give out these prizes, but the finance department didn't release the money. I took a dada with me. I said, who's this dada? Well, he's in my class. So they know their equations. They know what they are talking about. This culture has to go. And I really think I should have a plan, and I want to have a plan with everybody's assistance, how to help these political leaders. There's aspiring political leaders. They have a lot of energy. They're extremely intelligent. They can outwit us in any conversation whatsoever. So many of you are lawyers and IAS officials and scientists. Help me to help our students. Let us make them really good political leaders. We have such a big dearth of it. And I'm serious about it. I really want to get good leadership. Let's get good leaders and entrepreneurs. One of the suggestions I'd given to Shoma, that let us start, this is what happens in the US. Let us start small companies with undergraduate students. I will set aside this much money to give to undergraduate students as a startup. 5,000 rupees for 2 students at one time. Let them return to me that 5,000 rupees after 3 years. They're not takers. Let's not talk about lack of money. And when we try to do a different syllabus, you remember what happened in Delhi University? They wanted to switch to 4-year course. Immediately the hue and cry, tahale ei student ra kothay jabe? Bharatborshe to 4-year course kew recognize kore na. Yes and no. How do we make it work? Let one university do it, let the other step up. তোমাদের জেনেট কোর্সে কিন্তু এখনই অলরেডি within Shoma knows this very well. Many of our own faculty have said, না এটা পড়লে MSc করতে পারবে না? You know, the naysayers is what is wrong with West Bengal. And us, each of us is individually responsible for what we allow to happen. I'm happy to share with all of you, not really happy, that's kind of suicidal, but I'm kind of ready to share with you that I've been labeled a dictator. Because I just insisted that no, people have to have attendance to sit for the exam. It's not to bully them or punish them. It's only to bring some semblance of order. If they don't go to classes, you all know all that you don't want is flourishing on campuses. We can't name them in public, but we deal with it on a daily basis. Maths-এর ছাতে যাওয়ার সিঁড়িটা ভেঙে দিতে হবে কেন? To prevent people gathering there to do unlawful activities. These are the realities which I face on a daily basis. এইগুলো নিয়ে আমি বড় বড় কথাও বলতে পারবো না, ডিফেন্ডও করতে পারবো না। আপনারা সবাই বন্ধু, প্রেসিডেন্সির বন্ধু, তাই জন্য বলে দিলাম। And this is only the tip of the iceberg. But I think I'm very positive and optimistic about it. I think I can start a leadership program and an entrepreneurship program. I will need help from each of you. I'll come to you with my begging bowl. And you'll have to take in my students and give them the opportunity to become leaders and entrepreneurs. Once they are there, don't worry about the academics and don't worry about anything else. We'll be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Anuradha Lohia. Your idea of developing entrepreneurship and political leadership in the President's University is very interesting. In fact, that may solve two problems at one stroke. The dearth of them in larger Bengal, in the world outside President's University, will be solved. And it looks like there are too many of them in Presidency. That problem will also be solved, possibly. আমাদের সময় খুব কম। আমাদের কথা ছিল কিছুক্ষণ আমরা এখানে যারা মঞ্চে যারা উপবিষ্ট নন কিন্তু তারাও যথেষ্ট বিশিষ্ট মানুষ, বৃদ্ধজন, অতিথি অভ্যাগত যারা আছেন তাদের কথা আমরা একটু শুনবো। আমরা 10-15 মিনিট হয়তো সময় দিতে পারবো। আপনারা যারা বলতে চান, সুচেতন একটা মাইক দেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে তো? যারা বলতে চান যদি একটু অনুগ্রহ করে হাত তোলেন বা কোনোভাবে ইন্ডিকেট করেন যে বলতে চান এই বিষয়টার উপর। আর যদি একটু, যেহেতু আলো যথেষ্ট নেই, যদি একটু আপনার পরিচয়টা দেন।
আমার নাম পার্থ সেনগুপ্ত, একই নাম প্রায়, একটু মাঝখানে তফাৎ আছে। আমি 1973 থেকে 76। আমি ফিজিক্সের সাবজেক্টে থাকিনি বেশি দিন, তবে এই টপিকটার মধ্যে না প্রেসিডেন্সি না ফিজিক্স কিছু ইনভলভ ছিল। মিস্টার বাসু যে টপিকটি উনি এনেছিলেন, প্রায় মনের কথা যতগুলো বলার ছিল উনি প্রায় সমস্তটাই বলেছেন। তবে বেসিক্যালি এমপ্লয়েবিলিটি একটা খুব বড় ইম্পর্টেন্ট জিনিস। আমার 33 ইয়ার্স অফ মাই কেরিয়ার একটা পাবলিক সেক্টর কোম্পানি, আমি এই জিনিসটা খুব দেখেছি যে স্পেশালি ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে। আর এটা শুধু আজকের ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল বলতে গেলে 3 বছর পিরিয়ড ধরবো না 13 বছর পিরিয়ড ধরবো, এটা খুব বলা মুশকিল, কারণ আমি কেরিয়ার ওয়াইজ 81 থেকে এখানে বাইরে। তবে এই যে ইন্ডাস্ট্রি একাডেমিক যে গ্যাপটা, যেটা সমস্ত ইউনিভার্সিটি সিলেবাস ফর্মিং থেকে শুরু করা হয়, এই গ্যাপটা প্রচন্ড বেশি। একটা সময় কোনো প্রফেশনাল বডির থ্রু দিয়ে ইউনিয়নে কাজ করার চেষ্টা করেছিলাম। এটাকে আপনি কিছুটা মেনশন করেছিলেন মিস্টার বাসু, যে এই জিনিসটাকে এমপ্লয়েবিলিটি বাড়ানোর জন্য কিছু করতে হবে। এটার জন্য আরেকটু কংক্রিট প্রোগ্রাম প্রায় প্রত্যেকটি ইউনিভার্সিটি প্রত্যেকটি জায়গায় করা দরকার। এগুলো অনেক কাজ হয়, কিন্তু আমার মনে হয় কাজটা এখনো অব্দি একটু সুপারফিশিয়াল লেভেলে রয়ে গেছে। এটা একটা বক্তব্য ছিল। যদি এটা প্রেসিডেন্সি ইউনিভার্সিটি এখানে খুব একটা আসে না, এটা আরো যেখানে স্পেশালি যখন যাদের স্টুডেন্ট অনেক সংখ্যায় বেশি, তাই সেই সব ইউনিভার্সিটি বা ইনস্টিটিউটগুলোর জন্য এটা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট। আর সেকেন্ডলি যেটা সব থেকে বড় দেখা যাচ্ছে যে নানা ধরনের কলেজ মাশরুম করছে, ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং MBA কথাটা তো আপনি বলেছেন, MBA লোকে চাকরি পায় না। এবং ইঞ্জিনিয়ার্স, আই থিঙ্ক সাম বিজনেস লিডার রতন টাটা ও রাজীব এমজি এরাও তো বলেছিলেন যে 70% ইঞ্জিনিয়ার্স আর আনএমপ্লয়েবল। তো যে প্রবলেমটা আমরা যখন রিক্রুটমেন্ট করি যে টের পেয়েছিলাম, সেটা হচ্ছে কি যে adequate teachers এর সংখ্যা, balancing the number of students pursuing professional degrees, আর তাদের জন্য যে টিচার দরকার ঠিক ভীষণ ডিসপ্রপোর্শনেট হয়ে যাচ্ছে। কারণ টিচার কারা হয়, প্রথম বছর চাকরি পাচ্ছে না, সে গিয়ে একটা কলেজে টিচার হয়ে দাঁড়ালো, নেক্সট ইয়ার সে তার স্টুডেন্টের সঙ্গে সে ইন্টারভিউ দিতে এলো, সে যে সাবজেক্ট পড়াচ্ছে সেই সাবজেক্টের সম্বন্ধে প্রশ্ন করলে তার জবাব দিতে পারছে না। এই টিচারের হাতে যদি স্টুডেন্টদের হাতে পড়তে হয়, তো এইটার একটা ব্যালেন্স ভীষণভাবে দরকার। সেটা শুধু ইউনিভার্সিটি একা নিজে করতে পারবে না, ইউনিভার্সিটি ইন্ডাস্ট্রি যে ইনিশিয়েটিভটা বলছিলাম এটা আরো কংক্রিট ফেজে করা দরকার। ইনিশিয়েটিভটা দুতরফ থেকে যাওয়া ভীষণ প্রয়োজন। এটা এন্টারপ্রেনারশিপের কথা আপনি একটু বলছিলেন, এটা শুধু এক হাত দিয়ে চলবে না, এই জিনিসটার নিয়ে আরো চিন্তা করার অবকাশ থাকা দরকার। অনেক ধন্যবাদ, অনেকটা সময় নিলাম, ধন্যবাদ।
আর কেউ বলবেন?
Thank the panelists for their, for sharing their views. I just have a question in regard to what Mr. Prashant Ranjan Rai said, which is about true autonomy of a public university. So I think I have two precise questions. One is, can we really achieve true autonomy in a public university or state university system, or he's actually pretty skeptical about private universities, but we know that there are fantastic universities in the world, top universities in the world, which run on private endowments. So do you think we have any scope in West Bengal or in the nation that we really go and think about both, like running to have true autonomy? Do we really have to go to the private university system, or can we still have true autonomy in the public university system as it exists now in the country?
Well, I think I did make it clear when I was speaking that I still do not have a clear answer for the first one, how to have perfect autonomy within the framework of state regulations and state control. But I would ask people to look back at the old Calcutta University statutes at the time of the British. You would find that things were laid out much more clearly then. Since then, we have kept on amending it. There were 17 amendments to the Calcutta University Act. I think there were a couple made recently. And in each of them, the hand of the state became stronger and stronger. But it is not something that the university can work on. The university can maybe work on public impression so that there is pressure on the state to roll back a little, keep the funding, but well, do the controlling with light hands, hold your hands lightly on the reins. About private universities in India, my impression is not so good, and few that I have seen. We have only one here, and let me tell you the worst. It was set up with a set of the worst private technical institutions in the state, and then that was given the status of the university. And there is also a university which every time it advertises, I keep on laughing, called the Lovely Professional University. It has come up somewhere in Haryana, and I am told it has got a pretty high ranking in the. So I tend to think that once there is more and more corporate control, they will also be controlling the rankings of the educational institutions. But I do want things to move on. It's not possible to think overnight move overnight to a situation which prevails in the other major countries in the world. But maybe, as I say, have a little lighter control and move on and see how we can professionalize our teaching and learning in an institutionalized process.
Yes, please.
Yeah, my name is Akyut Pal. আমি প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজে 1970-তে ঢুকেছিলাম এবং 74-এ বেরোই। I am passionately associated with this college, like all of us. I left the college in 1974, and I came back in 2004 when I wanted my daughter to try for the admission here. But as soon as I entered the gate, I decided that I'm not going to allow my daughter to be admitted here, whether she succeeds in the admission test or not. Just because of the environment. Just by looking at the politicization of the college. Of course, our period was very much, troubled. But after that, it has taken a different kind of, look. So I decided that she will study elsewhere, but not in Presidency College. Now, with a lot of pain, many people ask me why, but it pained me to see the environment. And I must say that, I was impressed by Professor Lohia's passionate thinking about what is to be done. And Professor Lohia, you may be remembering Devapam Chakraborty, who was in physiology. And incidentally, our physics department and physiology department between 1970 and 73 were very closely associated. I still remember having seen you in the corridors. So I was really impressed by your passionate thinking. And my fervent appeal to you that you don't bow down to any kind of pressure. When I saw that report in the newspaper about the students robbing youth, I was really pained, and I was very happy to know that you haven't really bowed down to them. So please do that. And my other sentence that I want to utter is, banish politics from Presidency University. Please, if the St. Xavier's College can do it, if Lady Brevard College can do it, why not our beloved college? Please banish politics from here. That is the key to all improvements. That's what I strongly believe. Thank you very much.
What is your view? I have been told that you can't stop my democracy. So what is your democracy? When I first came in, again, this press, the media, sorry, Shruti. But the media were harming us all the time. So I said media personnel can't hang around here and cannot come in and go as they like. They have to take an appointment or they have to announce who they are at the gate. So I was told, this is very undemocratic. Media ke dukte daban na kya? I don't remember that when we were in college, media was hanging around. I have no recollection. After that, when I said that why are you people using the name of whichever political organization, why is there no General Students Union? Again, I was very undemocratic. Can you explain to me how? I don't understand. Because democracy now is everybody's personal democracy and entitlement. It doesn't matter where I step on your toes. This is the feeling in campus now. We are glorifying presidency for a lot of things, but you must wake up and smell the coffee. There is something which is so undesirable. I was furious. We had to get the whole portico. The same reason my daughter did not attend this college. I came in and I was disgusted. The place looks like really somewhere where you and I would not live. And my students are creating that, what we call in Bengali English, nuisance. They are just dirtying the place. And I'm saying it's a crime to deface the heritage structure. They don't care. Their democracy, their voice must be painted under the portico. I made poster stands for them to put it all over the campus. I said, these are mobile stands, take them where you like. Na, amar jinishta portico te hote hobe na le keu dekhte parbe na. Ki korbo bolun to? Give me an idea.
Yeah, all I can say that you have to be really strict and bow out like the previous Vice Chancellor of Yadavpur University did. See, he came from abroad with a lot of good intentions, but he couldn't survive, and you also cannot survive. I will predict that. Given the situation here, I'm paid to say that.
Since that's not a solution, I hope I can survive it.
Yeah,
I have
yes, sure.
tried to survive it.
I definitely do hope.
Sure. Let's all hope so. Thank you very much. Thank you. আমাদের সময় খুব কম, আমরা হয়তো আর একজনেরই বক্তব্য নিতে পারবো। Anyone else wants to say something? প্লিজ। এটাই শেষ, অনেক দেরি হয়ে গেছে, ডিনারের সময় হয়ে আসছে।
আমি সুরজিৎ চক্রবর্তী, 68 থেকে 71 এখানে বিএসসি পড়েছি। আমার একটা ছোট্ট প্রশ্ন, সেটা হচ্ছে যত ব্রিলিয়েন্ট স্টুডেন্ট, আমি ফিজিক্স অলিম্পিয়াডের সাথে সামান্য জড়িত আছি, দেখছি যারা ভারতবর্ষের জন্য 5টা করে গোল্ড মেডেল, 4টি গোল্ড মেডেল আসছে, তারা প্রত্যেকে মানে একজন দুজন বাদ দিয়ে আইআইটির ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং কোর্সে যাচ্ছে। আমি সেটাকে ঠিক ইউনিভার্সিটি সিস্টেমের মধ্যে ধরবো না, আমাদের ইউনিভার্সিটি সিস্টেম থেকে মানে তারা বেরিয়ে এসে ইউনিভার্সিটি সিস্টেমে আসছে না, এরা ওই ক্লাস 12 লেভেলের ছেলে মেয়ে। এইটা কেন? এটা কিভাবে আমরা অ্যাড্রেস করতে পারি? এরা সবাই ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং করছে, করে কি হচ্ছে দেশের আমি জানি না। থ্যাংক ইউ।
আপনি বলবেন একটু? আমার মনে হয় যে we should call it a day now. অনেক আলোচনা হয়েছে এবং এরপরে যেহেতু ডিনার রয়েছে, তারপরে আলোচনার অবকাশ রয়েছে, ইনফর্মাল আলোচনা, নিজেদের মধ্যে গল্প কাছাকাছি অনেক কথা বলা যাবে। আমার মনে হয় আলোচনা সভা, আমরা যেটা আলোচনা সভা হিসেবে এখানে করছিলাম, সেটা আমরা এখানেই শেষ করছি। আমি এরপরে প্রেসিডেন্সি ফিজিক্স ডিপার্টমেন্টের এখনকার যিনি হেড অফ দ্য ডিপার্টমেন্ট সৌমক রায়চৌধুরী, তাকে বলবো এসে তার আনুষ্ঠানিকভাবে ধন্যবাদ জানাতে অতিথি বক্তা দেবেন।
First of all, I mean, my job, as Sudipta said, is to thank everybody, and I'm not going to specifically thank every individual, but this was a wonderful, much better than I thought it would be, the panel discussion today. And it raised quite a lot of issues, and thank every single panel member who was up here for taking their time to take the trouble to come and participate in this discussion. This discussion has to be the beginning of something much bigger. And it already has started quite a lot of discussions everywhere. I thank you everybody, and thank you for all the alumni who have come today, and I know many others will come tomorrow. I hope again that we are at the beginning of an activity. This is not the last time you're going to be here. We haven't had reunions for a long time, and such alumni events, which are actually have other things going on with it too, like the academic bits, the musical bits, and these discussions have to start, and we would like to make this an annual event. Help us to do this. I have what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5 minutes of your time, not much more. But I wanted to summarize in many ways what was discussed today and tie the strands with what is happening in presidency physics now. Because a lot of people here have been asking about the university, they've been actually looking and scrutinizing what's been happening at the university. And I would like to take a few minutes. It is not an easy job because dinner beckons. I have given many after-dinner speeches where the main challenge is to keep people awake after they've eaten too much and drunk too much. But now everybody here is hungry, so I'm not going to take very much of your time. What I wanted to say here is as follows. People often ask, why do we have to change? Presidency College to Presidency University, teaching to research, honors pass to a different system. And a lot of people, including our own colleagues within the university, are resistant to this change. And a lot of the alumni, I meet people on a regular basis, and people ask, why did you have to change? Why did you have to take this out? Why did you have to take this? And that is because the nature of universities has changed everywhere. We have no choice. We cannot be the Presidency College that we used to be in 1950, because we have to keep up with the river which flows. We cannot go back in time. Our students have far more choice now. Even when I was a student in 1980, not many students actually ventured outside the state to go anywhere for their undergraduate studies. Maybe after their MSc, they used to go for a PhD to America or something like that. I went to England. But now, after leaving school, people have a huge amount of choice. They don't have to stay in West Bengal. They can go anywhere else in India and even abroad. So we are in a competitive market, number one. And number two, we have to make sure our university is compatible with everybody else, because our students are everywhere. They're global. And so we cannot afford to give them an education where they would then be disadvantaged. Right? So we have to keep up with the times. And in today's world, as Professor Sen very succinctly put, knowledge has to be created and it needs to be shared. The two activities have to go hand in hand. We have to have research and we have to teach. There's much more than that for a research university. This R1 model that the Americans call it. We have to do research and teaching, and it's not just because we want research active teachers. Research active teachers not only create knowledge, they show the students what there is after university. That is the most important thing. Research active teachers can extend students' horizons much more than ever. I know that you will tell me that in presidency physics there were lots and lots of teachers who never do any research, and yet they actually showed us widening horizons. They are very rare. Such teachers are very, very rare. And the people in my time who showed me the widening horizons were people like MONDAY3 and Shyam Gupta, and they, sitting in Presidency College, did amazing research. They knew where the horizons were. We have to actually have people who can update syllabuses every year, every few years, on the basis of what is going on in the subject. The subject moves very fast, and we have to prepare our students for life everywhere. We see physics students ruling from presidency, ruling the world, ruling the rest of India. And I would actually venture to say that often they have gone and become great academics everywhere in spite of what we've taught them. Because our syllabuses in West Bengal in general have stagnated, and we need to actually come up and teach them in a new way. We also have to prepare them for the rest of life. Now, for historical reasons in India, research has been kept apart from teaching. Everybody here knows that. And that is a very unique system. Nowhere else in the world does research happen outside universities. Research institutes are within universities, right? And post-independence, there was somebody's bright idea to separate the two, and that has disadvantaged our students and our research institutes in a big way. The research institutes don't have any connection with the young students they will employ later. In my case also, and many of you, when you studied here in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, would not probably have much idea of what research goes on in the country elsewhere, and they thought, you know, going to America is the best choice, right? Things improved a little bit in the 90s and the 2000s, I think, because the research institutes felt that they needed to go out to the universities and do some outreach. But we have separated them. And that is why, in this transformation of presidency, we have to make sure that in going to the research university model, we have to have research happening within the university, but also hold hands with all the research happening elsewhere in the other parts of the country. Otherwise, we will end up in becoming any other university, like any other university elsewhere. Now, we need more universities. India has made this decision that needs more universities to keep up with the rest of the world. China has created 200 new universities in the last 12 years. India needs more universities. How would they make more universities? There's not enough money, there's not enough manpower. So there is this notion that they're going to convert colleges into universities. Existing successful colleges into universities. Not many cases have been successful. There have been 4 cases that I know of which have been attempted. Presidency is one of them. Cotton College in Guwahati, Ravenshaw College in Cuttack, and of course B College Shibpur. And the other 3, B College Shibpur has, of course, is a very restricted college, it's only engineering and some basic sciences, but the other 2 are struggling. I think if in India, colleges have to be turned into research universities, presidency has to lead the way, has to be the model. Absolutely. And we physicists also actually can show that this would work, because we are a subject where theory and practicals and experimentation go hand in hand, and we can show how that we can change a college, a teaching college, into a university by showing how research can be done. Now, what are we doing then? And this is what I wanted to summarize. I wanted to have a very summary of what's happening in presidency physics. A lot of you might not actually know, but some of this has been discussed. First of all, our faculty has been renewed, and we have a very young faculty. Even in physics, our average age is in the mid-30s. Now that makes us unique. We are one of the youngest universities in the world as far as faculty profile is concerned. It brings 2 problems. Of course, the faculty is inexperienced, so people might argue that their teaching acumen is probably not as good as many of the other universities where people have been teaching for a long time. On the other hand, it brings in new blood, new research, and as I said, the research has to lead the teaching nowadays, and that can happen, right? So first of all, university-wide, we've changed the education. You heard about the Gen Ed program, and that is a reality. A lot of people here have told me that, gosh, when we were in the university, we wish we could have studied history or English, etc. We've opened up the past subjects. I never did, went to class most of the past subjects, as everybody else has said also. And so we've opened up the past system, and now the Gen Ed program ensures that students can pick and choose what they want outside their honors. But we have kept the honors course very, very strong. It's not a liberal arts university, right? We used to have 800 marks in our honors subjects. Now we have 1,000 marks in our honors subjects. 20 courses of 50 marks each, right? So we've strengthened the honors core in the 3 years. But outside that, we have completely liberalized the choice. And our physics students, my English faculty colleagues are telling me that their Shakespeare course last term, the best students were from physics, right? They not only wrote the best English, they also understood Shakespeare the best. And when I ask my students, they say that was the course they enjoyed the most. I wish when I was a student I could do Shakespeare. I had people like Kajushin Gupta, Shukantan, Chupriya Chaudhuri teaching here, and I wish I could go at it. I did. I actually went and sat behind their classes often, took special permission and attended some of their classes, but I wish I could do them for credit. This is happening. How has physics teaching changed? We have started an ambitious way, started changing the laboratories. That is one of the major things. This is what Professor Shubhashachi Bhattacharya has been amazing in his role from the mentor group, and now in his role as the HSC post professor. It's been inspiring us to actually look at how to integrate the teaching laboratories into our teaching, which was never done. When we also studied, we had the teaching laboratories and the theory classes very, very different. And there was not much of an integration between the two. And we have to modernize them. We are changing that. But also, and this ties what I'm saying to what was discussed here before, we are teaching our students basic skills so that they survive after physics. That is, we're teaching them how to write, how to give talks, how to speak in public, and how to do good computing. This is integrated into many of our courses now. They have to give talks in the middle of courses. They are assessed on the basis of their writing skills. And these are the things these are called transferable skills, and they can transfer them to other subjects. If they want to leave physics and go somewhere else, they would at least know how to speak and write and do computing. That is very important. And the way we've changed the structure of our syllabus is that now, for example, even in the BSc, we have optionality. We have a research paper in the 3rd year of our BSc. In our MSc, in the final semester, the entire semester is a thesis. Entire semester, no classes. Only a thesis. For 20 credits, they will actually write a substantial thesis. Now, this is the first year we'll do it from January. We don't know how successful we will be. But we are trying to make our students stand on their own feet before they graduate, so that they are confident. And that is my last buzzword. Professor Anita Mehta said that. And I also agree. When I went out of this college in the 1980s, I was arrogant, and I knew that I could take on the world. I was very confident. Our teachers, people like Amal Babu, Shyam Babu, Hemen Babu, actually had prepared us for it. Right? I don't see that confidence in our students, most of our students. Some of them are all right. When I came to this university to take charge of this department 2 years ago, that is the first thing that struck me, that these students don't know where they're going to go. I asked my outgoing MSc class, where will you go? And they said, maybe we'll do some tuition. Maybe we'll sit for some exams, and some of them, of course, were very good, and they went on to the IITs to do their PhDs, etc. But the confidence is the first thing we have to build. And the second thing we have to build is the confidence in us. I still have my BSc gold medalist going to the IISc for her integrated MSc course. And I recommend that to her. Because we cannot supply her with a comparable MSc PhD course. We don't. And so I'm not going to stop her. But I want that our physics department, and of course other departments in the university, in a few years to get to a state where our students will at least not by default think of going anywhere else because we are not good enough. I'm aware of the incest issue that Ashokda said, but actually I would like our own students to consider our own university to be at par, and that they don't. That is also an element of this confidence. They should be confident of their own training and confident of the heritage of the institution, which we share with everybody here, but also the current status of this institution. And this is where I need all your help. Please interact with us, interact with our students, tell us what you think, send me email, walk into my office and talk to me about ideas you have. I want the current students to connect with the alumni, and that will give them the confidence. Thank you. Dinner in the Baker Labs in the Physics Department.
ऐसा नहीं है कि
দেখা হয়ে গেল মানে ছবি দেখা হয়ে গেল।